So the news broke today that Frank Warren has reportedly not decided to re-sign and extend Bradley Saunders' contract. Quite a surprise that Frank Warren has not decided to opt to re-sign Bradley Saunders, who has so far had an impeccable pro career and looks to be going in very much the right direction. One has to wonder, with Eddie Hearn's recent discussions on IFL TV about new signings, whether it's got anything to do with that. Eddie Hearn controls a lot of the top names in the British light welterweight division, and you could see him loving the idea of having Bradley Saunders to throw into the mix. Saunders certainly a very interesting prospect. Extensive amateur background. As a professional, he's 10-0 with 8 knockouts. He's shown good power, and recently he started to both, rack up the knockouts and starting to do so against an increased level of opposition. I believe his last fight was for the WBO Intercontinental Light Welterweight title. Now, whilst Saunders is doing very well, he's still quite an early stage of his career. He's only had 10 fights. He hasn't been in against a big name as of yet. Perhaps that is a concern because he is 28. He's not the youngest kid out there, even though he's turned pro relatively recently. He's certainly a talent. He's someone that I myself have seen fight live, someone I rate, someone who looks like he's improved since turning pro. But I guess the concern would be that he needs to be active and he needs to move and step up quickly because, realistically, you want him to be winning British titles, to be winning European titles, when he's still in his 20s. There's talk about him being a world title challenger in future, but the truth is he hasn't even fought anyone at British level yet. So I'm guessing Bradley Saunders would potentially consider a move to Matchroom to get the big name fighters, to move up the ranks. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of hype about the guy, but he's still not in the top 10 of the British light welterweight rankings on BoxRec. So I think it's a sensible move for for him if he can make the transition to Matchroom. With all the dates and all the shows they have, he shouldn't have any activity concerns there. And I think if you look at the light welterweight division, I pulled it up on BoxRec, the British light welterweight division. Ricky Burns, Eddie Hearn fighter. Darren Hamilton, Eddie Hearn fighter. Willie Limond worked with Eddie Hearn last year, as did Curtis Woodhouse, as did Dave Ryan. Tyrone Nurse, Eddie Hearn fighter. Even, lower down the list, John Wayne Hibbard, Robbie Davis Jr., Tyler Goodjohn, Ricky Boylan. These are all names who I've seen doing some work with Eddie Hearn in one form or another. Big domestic matches that Saunders can get thrown into, which he may have had difficulty getting involved with Frank Warren, or potentially. So what this is going to ensure is high quality domestic matchups for Saunders, the opportunity to be recognised, the opportunity to move up the ranks, and most importantly the opportunity to remain active. I must say, I know Frank Warren's press release has given the impression that he let Saunders go. I'd be interested to hear the reasons behind that from Warren's perspective. The internet rumour seems to be that it's because he realised the Hearn signing was inevitable, but be interesting to see because Saunders really is going in the right direction, and I think he is a fighter who can break those limits at light welterweight. And the list of names that I've read out earlier, sort of British level fighters, there's no reason he couldn't take out the vast majority of those guys at his peak. So thanks for watching. Interested to hear people's thoughts. How do you rate Bradley Saunders? Do you think he'll be better off with Matchroom? Comments always appreciated.